Welcome back to my channel. You know, gaming, as I've said many times before, is often a social aspect and can have a lot of important moments and great memories that will last you a lifetime. And I'm going to share an interesting story, several stories actually, going down memory lane. I hope you'll come join me, about gaming with my father and how many of these games I'm going to talk about have a very important and special impact on me, not only as a person, as a son, and also as a father myself, and why I think it's important that people don't just see video games just as something to waste their time with, but can be very important for relationship building and just enriching your life. So please stick around and join me, like, comment, subscribe if this is the kind of stuff you like, and let's go for the ride. So as some of you know, my father passed away in 2018. Now my dad was a serious alcoholic, and you know, the alcoholism led to a lot of changes, especially in the last decade of his life, to his personality and his health. And in those last couple of years, they were really rotten, and he got very sick and ended up in hospital. And eventually, the complications and the damage that the excessive alcohol had done to his brain, kidney, and liver caught up with him, and unfortunately, he passed away from those. However, my dad, although having a lot of issues because of his excessive drinking, when I grew up as a kid, and you know, definitely impacted us, both myself and my mom and my two sisters. But there was also some good things that my dad used to do, and you know, we used to play board games, and he'd take us out to, you know, different farms and go out garage sailing and, you know, lighting fireworks off and having big parties. So there was a lot of good stuff that still happened even though my dad was an alcoholic. And that's the thing I try to tell people, always keep things in perspective, you know, and think of the whole, not just these little incidents. But one of the most important things for me that I still look back on a lot today were playing video games with him. So though we did all those other things, he also liked to play video games. Now my dad was born in the 60s, and he definitely played a lot of Atari, for example, when he was growing up, and some NES games. So he did do a little bit of gaming as a kid. But then he stopped, right? You know, his father also was an alcoholic, a severe one. The difference between my dad and my grandfather, my paternal grandfather, was that my dad kept a job during all that time, except for the last little bit of his life. But my paternal grandfather, although a great guy and super kind and I loved him to death, he couldn't keep a job, and because of that, my dad had to work, and his brothers and sisters, and of course my grandmother had to work to compensate for him not working. So he pushed all that aside and didn't bother playing. However, when I was, I think it was 1997, so I was 7 or 8, so I must have been, you know, 6, 7, something like that. Maybe 8, somewhere in there. I forget the exact time when all this happened. We got the Nintendo 64, and that was my first console. And I've talked about this before. I always was bugging for consoles because I seen my friends having them. And that one Christmas, I got my Nintendo 64, and I was so excited. And with it came Mario 64. This is the original cart for it. And I remember, and I've talked about this before, these memories with Mario. This is one of my favorite games, and the reason is because of this type of memory, is that I used to get sick a lot, and I used to get a lot of indigestion and upset stomachs, and I'd be up, you know, holding my stomach going, oh, I can't sleep, and I'd be drinking that Pepto-Bismol, that pink crap. Oh my god, it was awful. And popping Tums. But my dad would always be up watching hockey, what a Canadian thing to be doing, watching hockey, or baseball or football or curling, all kinds of sports he used to watch. And he'd be watching them up until about 12 o'clock at night. And, but yeah, I'd get up and say, I don't feel well, Dad. And so during those intermissions, when there'd be, half an hour where, there's nothing going on, he'd say, okay, you can play your game. And he would help me go through these levels. And he loved it just as much as I did. And there were some times where he played definitely longer than the half an hour intermission break there, because he himself wanted to see what happened next and explore an area. He's like, well, you missed something over there, go there, or whatever. And I remember the one thing that really brings back a ton of memories is the penguin race. So those of you who have played Mario 64 might remember you have to race the big penguin, and I for the life of me couldn't do it. And I remember my dad actually helping me through that level, and he did it in 2 goes, and I remember that. And I remember him watching me beat Bowser, and like he was excited, just as excited as I was to do that, because he remembered playing the original Super Mario Brothers on the NES. So he remembered that, and he's like, this is just amazing, the graphics for him to go from there to see full 3D, and it done very well, I have to admit. Nintendo at this time did a great job, and this is a classic game for a reason. And I've had so many memories with this game that, as I said before, when the collection, that 3D All-Stars collection came out, that Nintendo put out for the Switch, I bought it right away because it had Super Mario 64. And on one of my games to beat this year for 2021 is the Mario 64 on that for the Switch. Now, yes, I've beaten Mario many times, this game countless times, and played it on the DS, right, and beat it there as well. But now that my dad's gone, I haven't played this game since, so it's going to have a more meaning and a more depth than it already did. So I am looking forward to it, because I have been, we just had Easter and his birthday just passed not that long ago, a couple of days, like last week, and so these memories are there, and I want to honor that and honor him and do that and play through those again. Another game that I remember playing, almost all of these games are for the N64, by the way, being that was my first console that I had, and my dad really got into this, and then I got the Game Boy. He didn't do the Game Boy or anything handheld stuff. And then when I got the GameCube, that was in my room, and he rarely ever touched those. But these, he really was into, these games here. This game in particular, my dad liked a lot, and I remember going with him to the flea market to get it. And I don't know why he got it. He just asked me if I wanted it, and I said yeah, and he got it, and he played it before even I got to. In part because it reminded him of that Asteroid, the game Asteroid, where you're firing asteroids in space. That was on, I think, the Atari. I've played that with him as well. I think I mentioned that as well on this channel. But anyways, Star Fox 64, I think, reminded him of that. And you can see this is very well loved and worn. You can see how worn and loved this is. But he loved it, and he would play this constantly. And he got very good at this game. He unlocked every level he went through. I mean, it's a very quick game. For those of you that have played it, it's very fast, very quick. You can beat it, one sitting. Half an hour to 45 minutes. You got through the whole thing, even quicker for some people. But it was a lot of fun. And I remember playing this with him, watching him play, or he'd watch us play, and he would comment, and we'd get stuck, as kids, and he'd take over and play, and we had a lot of fun. And I remember him really liking this game, and I used to really enjoy watching him play that. Now this is another game that I think I've mentioned before, and it's called the Automobili Lamborghini, right? This is for the N64, and I hate when people do this, and they put those stickers on. I have a hell of a time getting them off. This also came from that flea market way back then. And what was funny about it is that my dad always wanted a racing game, and he wanted a realistic one. And so my sisters and I remember we were at Trails End, which is the flea market in our area of town, and we thought this might be fun. And he didn't know what this exactly was at the time. As soon as I put it in, and he seen it was like quite realistic, and he really loved it, and he wanted to play and race and be a part of it. And he really enjoyed this game a lot, and he really encouraged us to play this one all the time because he liked watching. And I remember him helping us unlock every single car and being really involved with this, which was really nice because it's wonderful memories of him like sitting down with us laughing and playing. And in part I think he liked it because he was a big NASCAR fan. He loved NASCAR, and he also, when he was younger, used to do demolition derby. So this kind of reminded him about that as well, where you could see realistic damage on your car and things. And for him, he used to, when he was younger, as I said, do demolition derby. He'd go and buy really cheap crap cars, and then he would bring them to we had like a fair that's downtown, fairgrounds, and they used to have this arena where you would do that in. And he would enter, and he would just have fun doing that, and just destroying these cars, and then he just loved it. And this reminded him of that, and he really liked it. It was fun to experience that. And the last game I want to talk about that I have good memories a lot is a game that I loved, and I loved it because I was into Pokemon. And my dad, not so much. He didn't care. But he got really into this Pokemon game with me and my sisters once he watched us play it. And that was Pokemon Stadium. And it wasn't just my dad that got into this. My mom got into it. I had my uncles getting into it, and they'd play. My dad loved this game. And we would play it every Saturday for years and years, just together playing this game. I think for him, and we'd have rotations, right, where it's like tournaments in our family where you'd pick your roster of Pokemon, and he would face off, and then we'd all go off and see who would win and eliminate and so on. He loved it, and I think part of that was because he was a collector, and you got to collect things. This is the whole point of Pokemon, is collecting. And I think that kind of made him feel good, and plus also winning when he realized there are certain Pokemon that are just OP. And as a kid, we had kid brains, and he had an adult brain, so he had a little more strategy, even if he was drunk at the time. And he would go and he knew what to do, where we wouldn't quite understand it. But he loved this game as much as I did. And I remember his main Pokemon, he loved Haunter. Not Gengar, Haunter. Out of all of them, Haunter was the one that he used to really like beating as. I always remember that, about him with that. And he also really liked Fearow as well, and Charizard, of course. He also loved Charizard. But yeah, so I have a lot of great memories with my dad on these gaming with him. And I've talked about this before. This is the importance of gaming. Gaming's not just for entertainment. It is, to a large extent, entertainment. But there's also a lot of connections and memories that you can form with yourself, your kids, your siblings, your spouse. I've talked about my wife and I playing Pokemon and playing Civ together, Civilization 6 together. These are memories that are great, and it makes you thrilled and want to play them together. And it's special because it adds something to the hobby, but also a lot of memories that you'll cherish one day. And I cherish these games and those memories that I have with my dad, and they're all wrapped up here. And so actually, starting today, I'm going to be playing Mario 64 on the Switch, just to honor him, since this is his birthday month, and enjoy that. Like, these are great times. So I hope you enjoyed those stories and a little bit of my ramblings a bit about these games and experiencing with my dad. But please, share your own stories that you've had with your family and how playing these games have made great memories, or have even elevated games to a whole new level for you once you have that memory and you play them again. Let me know. Again, like, subscribe, and comment, all that great stuff. And please, guys, take care, and we'll speak with you guys soon.